hopefully it's recording. All right. Okay, I think we're on record. All right, guys, welcome everybody who was able to join this meeting. What we're going to do today is we're going to focus a little bit on problem statements because my dog coughing in the background. She pulls out her fur, so sorry about that. Okay. Anyway, we're going to focus a little bit about problem statements because they're like super, super important. And it's probably the thing we're going to spend the most time on, and the thing you're going to spend the most time on in your dissertation. And the reason why is your problem and your purpose and your research questions are basically the framework of the whole thing. If your problem statement is incorrect or designed wrong, you don't want to go back and fix it after you've already done your interviews. It's important to take the extra time now and really understand it and really focus on what you're doing. So that's part of what we're doing right now. So problem statements. So again, I've seen many of your drafts and I've given you many feedback. So you might have seen this before, but I'm gonna like reiterate it and focus on it. It's really important to remember, and I understand that some of the topics that you're working on also kind of cross into things like psychology and you know, other types of disciplines in some areas, but really your focus needs to be business. So your DBA students are looking for a business degree. You need to make sure that your problem statement is business focused, okay? So sometimes people get into things that kind of step in the area of psychology, education, or other disciplines, and it's very, very important to really have a business-focused DBA, and I will give you feedback on that right away. There's nothing wrong with it being on the other thing, but when you graduate with the DBA, the idea is you have a kind of study or strategy that you can take to another organization. When you come out with your DBA, you want to be able to say, hire me as a consultant. This is what my dissertation was on, and I can help your organization, okay? So your business problem is a problem for a business from the perspective of a business manager or industry leader, okay? So it is always going to be from the perspective of the manager, not the employee. You know, it's not going to be, I surveyed a bunch of employees and they all want to have 8 weeks vacation. Well, of course they do, you know, but no business is going to do that if it's not what's going on in the marketplace, right? Because it's always supply and demand and competitiveness and what's going on in the marketplace. So you always want to take the perspective of the business manager, the president of the company, the organizational leader. It's important to adopt that mindset of a management perspective because that is what your degree is about, okay? So you're not a social advocate. You're not saying that, you know, you're not getting into ADA. You're not going to get into, you know, women are not as promoted as often as men or anything like that that goes on a social issue. Your focus is business and strategy, addressing a business problem. That clear?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, super.
Yeah.
Super. So overall, there's slight variations to these kinds of things, but your problem statement in general should be 4 to 5 sentences. Some places say 150 words, some places say 200 words, but clear. 4 components, a hook, an anchor, a general business problem, and a specific business problem, okay? A bunch of other stuff that's going into this goes into your background or your introduction, okay? But the section that is your business problem just has 4 or 5 sentences, 150 to 200 words, okay? It has to reflect on the applied business problem, and it has to be logically supported, okay? So it can't be, you know, something that you've noticed that's not really supported. It's something that's logically deduced, okay? It says here, rubric requirements, what we mean the milestone requirements. Most critical component of your study, and it's going to be highly scrutinized. So if you think I'm being tough right now, I'm sending something and I will get it to the best possible point, but then other people in your committee will read it and they have to agree as well, okay? Your problem statement is not to identify the causes of a problem, the solutions to the problem, or any other stuff. It's just the problem, okay? Talk more about it. So, well, problem statement can be in 4 to 5 sentences. Another place that I teach, they only allow 4, okay? So number 1 is your hook with citation from literature. So something that you noticed is interesting. Second comes your anchor with the citation from literature, and the anchor solidifies your hook, your problem, okay? In your anchor is where you have the statistical component, you know, the general business problem and the specific business problem. So just 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's really helpful when you're writing this is just to make a little outline. This hook, anchor, general business, specific business. And that's all that goes into that section. The other stuff you write is important, but it goes in the introduction or the background. So to see if a business problem is a business issue, you have to consider the following, okay? An important indicator that a business-related problem is a specific problem is the problem statement relates to a key business process, okay? A business problem relates to critical success factors, profitability, business processes, strategies, right? A business problem is something a manager or leader can solve. For example, my study, I wanted to know about successful leaders or managers and organizations that manage virtually, because so many companies have to do work like we do here with your degree. And if you manage a team of people, and they can be global, you know, and they're, how do you see if they're making your goals? Okay, we've got some background noise, so I'm gonna mute just you guys, I think. If I can do that. Muting all of you, okay? And you guys can unmute yourself when you need to talk. All right, so anyway, that'll take out the background noise. But really what we're talking about here is just the business problem from the perspective of the manager, of the leader. As I was saying, when I did my dissertation, I wanted to find out strategies or attributes that successful virtual leaders used to manage employees or a team, okay? So that was where I was coming from. It was kind of like more organizations are working virtually or online. We've got these traditional leadership strategies. They don't address how a successful online leader meets goals, communicates, makes stuff happen. And that is what my study is going to be about, okay? And that's what I interviewed people on. I interviewed, like, what are the strategies, what are the attributes, what are the techniques as a leader, successful online leader, that you use to meet your goals and objectives, to make strategy happen, to communicate, whatever. So I got a whole bunch of interesting stuff doing that, but I was coming from the position of a leader, and I was looking at what was going on. What was going on is more and more companies are working online, and they're managing people online. And how is managing people online different from managing people in an office, right? So that's the kind of thing you're doing. So you do a final check on your problem statement by putting the hook, anchor, general business problem, and specific problem in bullet form and checking for alignment, okay? So when it makes sense, okay, so it has to kind of make sense. It has to logically flow, okay, these 4 parts. So it can't just be more and more organizations are working online, citation. In 2017, it was noted that 86% of companies are going to manage teams online, citation, right? And then you can't write like something that's completely unrelated. I want to know why, how long it takes to do a project online and how many people you need in the team. Well, that's not what I set up. What I set up was more and more organizations are working online, and I want to know why they're successful or how they work or whatever is relating to that. So you have to make sure that the 4 parts relate. So that's what makes it tricky. Now, how do you figure out how to do this? A good way to figure out how to do this is go to the Capella Library, look at some recently approved dissertations, look at how they put their problem statements together, look at something similar to what you're doing. It can't be the exact same thing, of course, but if you go to the library and find 2 or 3 really similar dissertations, you can kind of use those as a guideline and you can see how it's done, okay? It's the quickest way to learn it and to understand it and to kind of to be able to replicate it and do it your own thing. Another thing to remember when you're putting this together, the reason also you have to understand these parts is at some point you go through some oral defenses and you'll have to be able to answer questions. So you will have to know this stuff. So my advice to you guys where you are, and I know you have a million questions, but you know, do a lot of reading every week. Do a lot of research every week in the area of what you want to do your study on, and look at a lot of completed dissertations. You know, look at the sources that they use, look at how they set up their study, look at how they set up their questions. That is the best thing that you can do to kind of get your head in alignment for what Capella is looking for, right? And recent ones. So don't look at something from 2010. Look at something like, I would say it's 2018, 2015 and forward, okay? So as you progress from term to term, read the milestones required for your headings. Read what you write in your headings or sections. They just mean like sections. Read the milestone requirements again, check them off and make sure that you met them specifically, okay? Because what happens is all of these things have rubrics that I and the rest of your chair, team, committee will check. So let's say you get to milestone 3 or 4 concept paper and it's saying we want these 15 things. Go back and check that all these 15 things are met exactly in the order it's asked for and the way it's asked for. Because what happens is other people go back and read this and they're just going to be checking through that list and comparing it against it on the rubric, okay? So, getting to your specific business problem. Your specific business problem is kind of like your purpose. They're pretty much the same thing. It's the genesis of your study. It's vital to have a clear and precise specific business problem that is going to align with your research question and purpose statement, okay? It all kind of fits together like a jigsaw puzzle. So once you have the parts, once you have all this set up and your concept paper is kind of set up and you know what you're doing, then you can kind of do the stuff. It becomes easier. So a qualitative specific business problem is an open-ended question. A qualitative specific business problem must be well-defined and not contain multiple issues, like variables in quantitative studies. So here you have a nice graphic that you'll have access to because I'm going to upload this to the class. It talks about the specific business problem. It gives you an example, and it's qualitative is an open-ended question. Qualitative is very often used in business because you interview people, whether you do it online and you use like SurveyMonkey or something like that, is you just have a text box. Tell me, you know, strategies you use to grow your business on social media or something, whatever your question is. And they write and they give you a lot of information. And that's usually more telling or a better, higher level of research than if you just say, do you use social media? Yes or no. Do you use LinkedIn or Facebook? Yes. Do you use this? No. Do you use Instagram? Yes. You know, that's very different from getting, you know, some marketing people to say, explain to me your social media strategy, you know, and then they can say, well, we use Instagram, and then what we do is we have clickable links, and it goes here, and the branding goes there, and you get a lot more information that you get the themes out of. So very often in business, we use qualitative, okay? What else am I going to say? Oh, another point that's really, really important. You need to understand the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Because when you get to that oral defense, and you start talking, and we say, why did you pick a qualitative study? What's the difference? Why was this the better method? You need to be able to answer the question, okay? So quantitative specific business problems. A quantitative specific business problem is well-defined and has variables. And the following graphic depicts how to do it. So you've got an idea here of how to do a quantitative study. Again, this is another tip. When you go to that library, if you're planning to do a qualitative study, use qualitative as your examples. Look at a couple of quantitative so you can see the contrast. And the same if you're planning quantitative. You know, base your work on other quantitative studies that were recently approved. Aligning your specific business problem with the purpose statement and the research question. So your specific business problem, purpose statement, or research question need to align, meaning they have to talk about the same thing. If you want to say, tell me some strategies for managing cloud-based teams, okay, so your specific business problem is there's little research done on how to manage cloud-based teams. Cloud-based teams are growing and there's not much on it. The purpose of the statement is to find strategies how successful online leaders manage cloud-based teams. And your research question is going to be something, as a successful online leader, how do you manage cloud-based teams? It all stands the same. It all works together. Okay? That's what you're going for. A very laser-focused specific business problem, purpose statement, and research question. So we're all going to the same direction. Okay? So otherwise your research is going to be all over the place. So a good technique is write them all on a paper and look at the headings and make sure that everything aligns and it all looks the same. And of course, I'll tell you if it doesn't, okay? So we're going to have a graphic below, but there's an example of an alignment of a specific business problem research question and first sentence of a purpose statement by using the same keywords, okay? So some business leaders lack understanding, some business leaders lack knowledge, some business leaders lack strategies, some business leaders lack skills, okay? Pick one of those and use them, you know? That's what I'm saying. You're not really copying anybody else's work, but use some guidelines of approved dissertations because that is the verbiage that's already been used, okay? So let me see here. I'm gonna go here. I'm trying to figure out how to unmute you all. Unmute all. I've unmuted you all. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
No.
You all good? Okay. And you remember, you're going to have the slides. Okay, I'm going to put you all back on mute. And I'll see you in a few, all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okie dokie. Okay? So that's the best thing. Get some examples and you know, if you see a sentence, some business leaders lack knowledge. I use strategies in mind. Some business leaders lack strategies. I had some virtual leaders, some virtual managers. You just replace it with whoever it is, lack strategies to manage cloud-based teams. Okay? All right. So you have your specific business problem. So here's an example. The specific business problem is some department store managers lack strategies to motivate their sales associates. The research question, what strategies do department store managers use to motivate their sales associates? Purpose, first sentence of the purpose statement. The purpose of this qualitative study, quantitative study, whatever, will be to explore the strategies that department store managers use to motivate their sales associates. Okay? All related. Quantitative alignment example. Notice how specific problem statement, research question, the first sentence of the purpose statement use the same keywords, okay? And the subsequent first sentence of the purpose statement do not address the business leader. This is a difference between qualitative and quantitative. So here's the example of an alignment for quantitative. Specific business problem. The specific business problem is that some construction managers do not know the relationship between employee motivation, employee job satisfaction, and employee turnover. Research question. What is the relationship between employee motivation, employee job satisfaction, and employee turnover? Purpose. The purpose of this quantitative correlational study is to examine the relationship between employee motivation, employee job satisfaction, and employee turnover. Okay? So you see in quantitative, the manager is only in the business problem, but not in the research question or the purpose. And you also see the difference between quantitative and qualitative. Qualitative is more open-ended, where you're assigning your themes based on your results. Quantitative is more measurement and statistics, okay? Then here, I have a bunch of recommended YouTube videos, and again, I cannot begin to tell you guys, YouTube is your friend. 3 of them are mine, okay? They're mine, like this is this kind of study and that kind of study, research results and so forth. There's one on crafting a problem statement, but really as you're going through this process, Principally, all the schools are the same. There might be slight differences, but they're pretty much the same thing. A dissertation is a dissertation. Qualitative study, quantitative studies, pretty much the same idea. So YouTube is your friend. It's another excellent resource. If you're stuck, or if you say to me, hi, I want a conference call, and I'm like, great, but I can't talk to you until Friday, and you're like, but I want this answer tonight, go search YouTube. There's a lot of great stuff up there that can guide you. Go to the Capella Library. Look at some other recent studies that are the same type as yours. If you're doing a Delphi study, go look at another Delphi study, okay? Try to keep it in your subject matter. Look at other DBA studies. That's what you want to do, all right? And that's all we have. So I'm going to unmute you guys, and the floor is open to you. Any questions? I hear a sigh of happiness.
Hey, Dr. Liz, this is Kimber. I have a question about, as far as, like, I don't know if everybody's gotten their milestone approved, that we've got until, what, like Friday or this weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
What exactly is the, no kidding, this is what, the bottom line you must have to clear this milestone?
Which milestone
is it what we just did? I'm sorry, say again, please.
Which milestone are you on?
Oh, we're all on different ones. I forgot that. I'm on milestone 3.
Okay. Milestone 3 is a draft of your concept paper. So what I would suggest is, first of all, I'm not going to look at anything.
I thought it was a draft of chapter 1.
Chapter 1, yeah. Right.
Oh, okay. Making sure we're on the same sheet here.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, sorry. Okay. Chapter 1. So based on the last feedback, I would give it your best stab and turn it in by Sunday night. And as long as you have a full chapter 1, even if it's not perfect, I'll pass you on the milestone, because in milestone 4 is when you finalize it and get it perfect.
Okay, so you want to make sure that there's no missing paragraphs or anything. You want to, as long as there's something in there to kind of, even if it's a placeholder, it's just, something that's
not just a placeholder. I mean, don't say I'll fill this out later.
Well, maybe that was the wrong term, I think.
So,
but as long as we have something where we're making a conscious effort to have some sort of progress in each piece, right? Because it's okay.
Okay, so a fully
Fair enough.
Instead of Friday, you have till Sunday midnight, and a fully developed chapter 1 to the best of your ability. Okay, with the best done. Because I just hate to say that, because then somebody will put a sentence there going, I'll do this later. I'll say, but you said I could turn it in, you know. So really the idea is you have a full chapter 1, draft to the best of your ability, do your best to write each section.
Okay, and that's why I asked, because there are some sections of mine that I have like one sentence going, okay, I'll come and develop that further later. So I want to make sure, you know, what is the actual criteria, so that I don't give you something with one sentence and then you're like, yeah, I don't think so.
No, a working full draft. So you're going to have a couple paragraphs in each section, right?
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Okay. Other questions? No? Come on.
Dr. Liz, it's Jackie. I have some specific questions, but it's related directly to my problem statement, and I think we're going to try to hook up on Thursday.
Okay. So
I'm just looking for, just the time.
Oh, you're looking for a time. Okay. Did you email me? I will respond to your email right after we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Yes. Appreciate it.
Okay. So is everybody clear? Whatever milestone you're on, get it by Sunday night. And what I'll do is I'll place this recording as well as the PowerPoint in the updates and handout section. Does everybody know where that is? Discussion.
Yes.
You have a list, and there's something called updates and handouts. and there's, I put them there. There's also some drafts, an example of approved milestone 1, and a couple of other things. So, yeah, so that's there. Other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. Like when I created my tables, do
Yeah.
I have to get you put a note in there that I may need permission, but how do I get permission for something that I basically created and just use the author's what I based it on?
Right. So, there's a couple of ways to do things. You just want to double check that it's cited correctly in the APA. I probably wrote that so you would check it.
Mm-hmm.
And make it clear that you created the chart using their data. So data sourced from whatever, however it's supposed to be done. So, because you don't want there to be confusion that, let's say it's from a journal article, and you write about the journal article, looking at your table, it has to be clear that you created the table from the data in the journal article versus that you copied a chart from the journal article.
So I should put data source.
You should look it up in the APA.
I did. I've gotten so confused on those tables.
Okay, so this is a research. Being a doctoral scholar, this is a research project. Okay, and the idea is you have to develop your research abilities. So go look to the Capella Library and go look and see what other people did.
Yeah, I tried that.
Okay, so you've got to have and maybe the answer is not, but maybe in the part above is maybe in the part above you want to write something. You just want to make it clear that you did. There's a difference between you created a table using someone else's data or you copied a table, okay, from a journal. There's two different things, right? And there's different permission requirements and copyright issues doing those two things. There's two different activities, which is why it's important. So
okay.
the point is, if you created the table and you use the data from a journal, you can say, this table was created by the researcher based on the journal of whatever it is, online education study. You want to make it clear. You want to articulate it somehow. Say the chart below, right, was compiled by the researcher based on data from this, and then you put the table, and then underneath, like you did, you put the citation. Because that way you're telling everybody that you put the table together from data that you got somewhere else, and you didn't copy the table, which has a different copyright law issue. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Is that clear? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to tell the audience, if you created the table yourself, which is fine, from some data, you want to tell them, the researcher, in research, if you're doing, try to get out of first person, but so you want to say, it's both ways. You're not supposed to use first person all the time. You're not supposed to use the researcher all the time because that's a phantom person. Okay, so that's tricky. But depending on who approves, who's your committee, and what they prefer. But write something like the researcher or or this data was obtained from whatever, and the researcher compiled this chart based on the information, and then you cite it there. And that way everybody knows that you created the chart.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Other questions? No? Okay. Well, at this point, like if you have a milestone or some drafts, you have till Sunday night to submit. And double take a look at what's required. Email me with any questions. If you need an emergency conference call, I don't know how well. I think Thursday I have a little bit of time, but shoot me an email right away. And if not, what I'll do is let me stop the recording and I will end the meeting, and I'm going to upload the slides that you saw, so you'll have some examples, and the recording as well. Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for attending the meeting. I appreciate it. And again, tips I can give you, YouTube is your friend. Look stuff up on YouTube. Go to the Capella library, look at some recently approved dissertations. Read on your topic. And make friends with the API guide as well. All right?
Okay.
Okay, you guys have a great weekend.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.